Well, good morning and welcome to the Market Carver. I hope you've had an outstanding week. Obviously, lots of things going on in the news cycle. Many things that we need to be considering, of course, that we've talked about on the radio show, but many things that are impacting the portfolios, at least in the future in terms of things that are going. A couple that are in the charts, a couple that aren't. I just want to give you a quick news story. In Adam's opinion, in my opinion, a big game-changing event could have occurred this week with an announcement out of China saying, hey, we're going to put in a 7.5% floor on the economy. When the new president came in last year, he essentially said, we're going to move this over to consumer spending. The government's going to quit spending so much money, and we're going to slow the economy down, naturally doing that. Well, they didn't know that it was going to go from a 10% annual track rate of the GDP down to below 7. And so you saw commodities sell off so far this year. We've talked about that at the third release. International markets have been crushed, especially the emerging markets. And all of a sudden on Monday or Tuesday night, the Chinese government came out and said, hold the coffee. We're going to put a floor of 7.5% GDP growth. That meaning even if we have to spend money as the government, we're going to make that happen. That is a game changer, potentially, in our opinion. We talked about that in the April thirdly, where we mentioned the fact that things that were happening over there in China, it would have to see if it was a hard landing, a soft landing, or in the case of the United States, Japan, where we just kick the can down the road from a money standpoint. It appears to be that's what China's doing, and we're not willing to grow that slowly. Remember, when it comes to the investment world, that it's the trajectory, not the mass. So the fact that China is the second largest economy in the world with 11% of the GDP matters. The fact that it was growing at 10% a year matters. The fact that it dropped from 10 to 7, a 30% reduction, holy cow, did that matter. So we'll see what happens as here going forward. China was way up on the news the first day, and now we get to see it soared out inside of the marketplace. Speaking of money, let's move to the fundamental leg. The bottom line is, are we in an inflationary cycle or a deflationary cycle? One of my favorite economists is a gentleman named Lacey Hunt. Managed a little over $5 billion inside of the world of the fixed income world. And his contention is that there's more deflation out there than there is the inflation that's going on. And you can see by the chart that the inflation tends to run with the amount of money supply that's out there. A lot of conversations that are coming from the Federal Reserve in terms of when they need to begin to change their bond buying program, whether they're going to sell back the mortgage-backed securities that they bought, how all of this is going to eventually unwind. If you've paid attention to the markets, you know it has been very interesting to watch the behavior of the market every time the Federal Reserve speaks. More confusion than certainty for certain. There you go. Out with the old, in with the new. People chase returns. It's just a natural habit. We've talked about fear and greed being the two things that drive the market. The fear, 2008, drove people out of the market. If you focus on that red line, you can watch the massive amounts of outflows that went out of U.S. equities, especially relative to bonds, emerging markets. And this year, everything has changed. Back to the China story, we have seen almost 27% of all of the money that was put into the emerging markets, Brazil, Russia, India, and China, be removed in this year alone. That's all the money they put in, that investors put in all the way back to 2005, just to give you an idea. It's just flat out been withdrawn. And where's the money going? Into the U.S. equity market. It's why nothing from a diversification standpoint has helped. Now the problem is that money flow rate, that's $17.5 billion, is the largest amount of money in 1 month that's gone in, all the way back to 2008. It's running at 4 times the rate of money that was going in the beginning of this year into U.S. equities. And it's people driving returns. It's one of the things that we talk about. Is that people always put more money in the market when the market's at its high. And sadly enough, they pull out the most when the market is at its low. So we got to be careful out there, be smart moving forward. Hedge funds are heading into hedged mutual funds. New laws that are coming out are changing, giving the hedge fund industry more access to accredited investors. And the mutual fund industry is trying to find different ways to diversify against some of the risk. Things and strategies that have worked endlessly and very, very well are having challenges working this year in the crazy market that we find ourselves in. Retirees have left Detroit in a lurch for sure. You got a couple problems. The unemployment rate appears to be falling technically. That's because the population is dropping. People are just leaving. Detroit is still one of the largest cities in the United States, and you've probably heard by now that they declared bankruptcy. This produces a moral hazard to a degree. You've got a bankruptcy judge. If they hold up the bankruptcy for Detroit, meaning the retirees, the city employees, and everything lose a ton of their benefits, then don't take advantage of the government bailing out Detroit simply because of its size. If they do say, hey, you're stuck with what you've got, it's going to make weak cities around the nation who need to borrow money on bonds. It's going to make them all of a sudden have to pay a lot more to be able to get income, to get cash that they may need to do projects. On the other hand, if you bail them out and save and rescue the city, then you're going to have cities across the country say, well, if we're just going to get bailed out, why do we have to worry about running this program appropriately? We can overpay people. We can run pensions incorrectly. It's a sad situation in Detroit for lots of reasons. They certainly need a lot of prayers and a lot of attention. Have no idea how it's going to work out. Glad I am not the judge, and also glad that we had no municipal bonds associated in any way, shape, or form with Detroit. Rules to live by at the end of the day. The most important thing is how good you are at risk control. It's fun to watch markets go up. It's fun to get in those returns. It's fun to see good things happen economically. But at the end of the day, when places take a breather, when stocks take a breather or funds go down, how good are you at managing that risk control? And it's an important point. Hey, what better way to enjoy this kind of weather? It's finally gotten a little cooler again than going to Conner Prairie and enjoying the symphony. Tons of things that are coming up this summer, and just encourage you to get out if you can. Go see some of the wonderful stuff. Experience what we have in Indiana. Beautiful things. Of course, you get the Purdue Summer Series starting as well. If you're out and about on Saturday morning, don't forget to catch the radio show, 9 to 10 on WQME. Saturday mornings from 10 to 11 on Shine 99. Happy to have you along. And you can also find the newspaper column at our website. And happy to have your comments on that. Folks, we appreciate you joining us. If there's anything we can do to be of service, please don't hesitate to let us know. God bless. Have a great week. See you again soon.